Hey everybody, here from quantlabs.net. Okay, so I got another, I like to call these Dear Abby questions. This is an important one because the definition of quant has changed over the last probably year, maybe even the last 6 months. So one of my Facebook users came back, says I'm a 25-year-old bachelor degree in computer science, work in software engineer. Is it too late to become a quant? Now, if you're using the definition of the word quant, one, not really. There's no timing on this. In terms of uh, the industry has definitely changed. There's a lot more consolidation with high frequency traders, for example, and there's just more of a bunch of people out there that think they're quants. So I have a video on my YouTube channel I want to show you that I think is very important that you understand what a quant is.
Hey there, how's your trading going?
There's a book on there's a book out there that I put up here that defines what a real quant is. Here's some of the comments. Okay, I put this up, I believe, last year, and it's kind of a
Hey
joke
everybody, Brian here from
to
Quant.
insult those that are really knowledgeable in math and at the same time think you're a quant because you're nowhere a quant. So some of the comments came in about this. Great work as always, but if there's a link to download for this doctorate book, thanks in advance. As I said, there's this book I put up from this guy, Advanced in High Frequency. So watch that video. Thank you. I always have to explain to people what an actual quant is, but no one listens. You might get a laugh out of a video on my channel why you're not a quant. And I did watch that. It was quite funny. Just because you use something like quantopian doesn't mean you're a quant. I think as I said, it's an insult to those that are very knowledgeable in math, physics, and other sciences, as well as that go deep in low level, low latency computer science technologies. So, yeah, be careful what you define as a term quant. So this guy continues. In Sweden, if you have a bachelor, you have 1.5 years for a second bachelor in mathematics. So hopefully that level of math will give you the same level of math. For instance, there was a podcast that I posted on my Facebook group that had a quant do a podcast and interview for about was an hour or so, defining what a quant is, and he worked at Jane Street, and this guy was a PhD in Cambridge. So you want to make sure that if you're going to compete against a lot of the quants coming out in the world of UK, specifically London, or a British financial firm, that your school is at the same level of a Cambridge or an Oxford or an MIT or maybe even a Harvard, like a really Ivy League school, top notch, because you're going to be competing against those against uh, for these type of jobs. There's a lot of applicants out there now, and a lot of it's now determined by your school. So that's very important if you want to get more of the top-notch companies. Um, and as I said, the positions have consolidated as well. So that's fine, but don't let me tell you what I'm saying discourage you, because it should. So this guy has 1.5 years, second bachelor, 2-year master degree in financial mathematics, followed by a PhD in another 4 years. So he'll be 33 when he gets his PhD. So I guess that's what he's referring to. His question is, if he's 33, will he be too late? Probably not. So if I go for the math, I must perform well while doing my bachelor, top scores to qualify for master's studies. Probably, but as I said, with the more top-notch jobs in the financial centers like New York or London, they're not only basing upon your level, your marks. It comes down to the school you're in, and also now I'm hearing, just read this morning actually, how it's not just no longer a simple piece of paper resume that will get you a job. It's now what you put on your GitHub repository as a coder to demonstrate your capabilities as a coder on GitHub, and that's now a new way of introducing yourself as a coder, as your capabilities, and what you can do, and you demonstrate that through GitHub. So lots of options out there to get noticed, and it does come down to top schools now as well. And as I've already mentioned that a few times. But as I said, there is now a transition of what a quant is. So if I was to look up the term quant version 1, let's just see if I can find a definition of what version 1 quant is. I guess not. So let's try version 2. Now, basically, what version 2 is a quant that does basically data science. Okay, because machine learning has changed everything in the world of quant, changed everything in the world of high frequency trading. So a lot of firms are now putting a lot of reliance into machine learning. And machine learning has really changed everything. Even I'm paying attention to it. I'm way down the line, far from that, but I do intend to go that direction. Now, I'm not an expert in machine learning. I will say this, that when it comes down to the programming languages of R and Python and even MATLAB, which I do still love, but Python pretty well has beaten everybody in that game for the languages used for research, quote unquote research, for machine learning. Python's the place to be. But then you get into the different frameworks for machine learning. There's Torch, there's TensorFlow, there is Keras, and there's a new one from Apple. If you ask me, I think a lot of the machine learning is going to be going into mobile app development. There's less and less desktop development. So a lot of the machine learning is going to be targeted and deployed for is going to be deployed on mobile. So that pretty well determines, will it be Google or will it be Apple that will dictate that market. I think it will be a race between Google and Apple. If you asked me 3 months ago, I would have said maybe Google definitely dominates it, and then you have maybe Facebook that kind of promotes the Torch project. But in terms of where I put, let's say a year from now, 2 years from now, the betting horses, and who will be coming out of that pack, it'll definitely be Google and most likely Apple. Now with Apple, they just brought out a new thing called Core ML, and it's from Apple now. This is brand new. It just put out maybe a few months ago. So because this is Apple's version and attempts at machine learning, their framework to be embedded into their apps, obviously for their future apps with the iOS. And here you can see iOS, macOS, tvOS, and watchOS. This is the future for Apple. So we all know about TensorFlow. That seems to be the standard. But I think that's pretty well the race. When you look at Facebook usage, 80% of their users are now on mobile. So I think if you're just going to focus on the server side, or if you're going to focus on cloud solutions, then maybe that's where Google will dominate. But in terms of end user, and I think that's where the market will demand, in terms of frameworks, it will be determined by mobile usage. And we all know that the major players in mobile is definitely Google and Apple. Now, again, if you asked me 3 months ago, I would love to have said Apple with Swift, and maybe you've seen me work at that. But then the resources I've been watching on machine learning, I'll give you 2 resources that I really like when it comes to machine learning, specifically to trading. The first guy I like is, his name's Suraj Raval. Amazing channel. His channel's growing like leaps and bounds. and he's up to how many people now? 177,000. That's amazing. He goes over all the different things you need to learn about about trading. He just came off of one about the art of intelligence. He's got a few videos on trading, and it's quite an incredible way to learn how to trade. This guy seems to be becoming like the Sal Khan of machine learning and learning it. So I would recommend you follow this guy. Again, his name's Suraj Raval. And if you really want to see a really good interview on YouTube, if you go to Chat with Traders, they got a great video that I was really impressed with by a guy named let me just do this. Machine learning. There's a guy out of San Francisco. Let's see if we can find it. YouTube Chat with Traders. Okay, we got that. And I remember his name's Bert. So let me look up this guy, Bert. This is a good channel. I really enjoy listening to these interviews, but this guy is quite impressive. Machine learning for algorithmic trading with Bert Mueller out of San Francisco. I was quite impressed with what he's got going on. So those are two good resources. So again, this is all related around Quant version 2. This is where you will be going if you're graduating, or even if you're in this career. This is where you'll end up in machine learning. As well, if you need to understand some good sites, there's KD Nuggets, which seems to be a lot about data science specifically. And there's some data science news. Again, this is what I think the new Quant will be, Quant 2. I posted an article on it, and that's the direction high-speed trading industry is going, as well as probably a lot of investment banks and hedge funds will definitely be using machine learning. Obviously, math will be a major part of that. So hopefully this will help you out to sort of understand where quant is going. But you will need to be a pretty knowledgeable person in this space. And again, as I said, when it comes to jobs and career, they will measure you by your school. They will measure you by your capabilities through something like GitHub. So do consider those. I'm hoping these help you out and anyone else out there, because quant will change. But I also need to stress that there's mention of quantum computing as well. So if you want to know that, I guess go under Suraj Raval's video here, who explains what quantum computing is, and that probably will be the next big thing outside of big data, artificial intelligence, machine learning. It's got to be housed somewhere in the hardware, and this is where the quantum computing probably in the next 3 to 5 years will be big. Will it ever hit? For household retail guys like us, probably not. But on the industry side, yeah, I think it'll be bigger than we know in the next few years. Hopefully, I'll answer your questions about where quant's going, and if you're late to the game in quant, math is the foundation of it all, as well as now on top of that, the machine learning and the eventual AI. All right, so hopefully I'll help you out. Talk to you later.